This is Hidden Killers Live with Tony Bruschi, Stacey Cole, and Todd Michaels.
The unsealed affidavit in this case, in the Tepes murders, in the case against Michael McKee, the unsealed affidavit paints a picture that extends far beyond December 30th. According to court documents, Michael McKee allegedly surveilled the Tepes residence weeks before the killings, captured on video walking through their yard while Spencer and Monique attended a Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis. Witnesses told investigators McKee had threatened Monique for years, allegedly telling her he could kill her at any time and that she would always be his wife. The divorce was finalized in 2017. Murders occurred in 2025. Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI special agent, is here with us to help us break this down. Let's get to what we have learned recently about his early visit to the home in December. I believe it was the 7th during that Big Ten game. We don't know, according to the affidavit, exactly where his person was on the property. I've seen various reporting. I've seen some outlets interpret it as he was in their house. I've seen some interpret it as he was in the yard. I've seen some where he was just at the property. The verbiage leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of directness. How have you interpreted the affidavit as to what the hell McKee was doing at that property early in the month when they were at that game?
Well, the verbiage is the curtilage, and we use that in law enforcement writing. That's just kind of one of our words we always throw out, curtilage. What curtilage means is not inside the house. It means in and around that house, on that property, but not in that house. That's why you specifically write the curtilage.
So there would be a different term used if he had gone into the house, is what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
I believe he was ever inside the house. I think he was on the outside. I wonder, because remember, she leaves that game very upset about her ex. And I wonder, how we all have Ring, right? And
I was going to say, she got a notification somebody was there.
Yeah. And maybe saw him and was so upset. I mean, that's what my mind jumps to when you hear the dates and the times and everything. And also, I don't know if you and I discussed it or if you saw it on my Twitter about Google Trends. I'm really into that during crimes. Well, on the 5th, the only time that property beelines up is the day before all of this. And I can just imagine him Googling everything about that property, when it was sold, how much it was sold for, the specifications of the lot, where the rooms are and everything, because there is a huge beeline. The only time, just straight up. Very interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean that we have like notifications that are out there. You can set them for yourself or your name or whatever, and then it pops up. It gets kind of redundant if you're doing a lot of stuff. But if you're not normally Googled, it would be great to kind of see if someone is Googling aspects of your life and to be notified on that. Wouldn't it be nice? I mean, because I think that might be like, if you can get because after the fact is what we're doing here. We're looking geographically. Where was this searched? We don't know who searched it, but it's like, oh God, I know who lives in that city. And that's the only person who I would think might be looking me up. Why are they looking me up? That would be interesting as
That's
kind
terrifying.
of a warning signal that, one may get on themselves of someone else doing things. That being said, they say he was there for hours.
Yeah.
Hours. I mean, if he's not in the house, he's not making himself a ham sandwich or some pimento loaf. What the hell is he doing? I mean, is he just hanging out in the yard? Do you think he's sitting there checking out to see if there's certain entry points that he can get in by? Is he waiting for them to come? Was this a dry run? Was this just, scoping out the scene? Or do you think maybe he was going to try and maybe that was the day of action and they just weren't home? What's your take on why he was even there?
No, I think this was what I call in law enforcement a site survey. And site surveys hours. I don't think he was sitting in his car. I wonder if he was walking around, looking around. Where should I best come in at? What's the best vantage? Where are all these cameras at on all of these various homes? What are people doing at this time of day when I'm there? Are people home? Are they out? What's the situation? What cars are attributed to neighbor houses? So I know if people are coming in the neighborhood. The this is typical site surveying that you would do, and it does take a couple of hours. So that time frame doesn't surprise me, and the fact that he did this doesn't surprise me. I think he was preparing.
God. I'm just like, what do you get? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I could walk around my house in about 5 minutes and determine where I could and couldn't get it, or any house for that matter. I mean, I don't know, unless I'm like scaling it. It doesn't.
What's he doing for an hour?
It doesn't take that long to go. This door's, unlockable or unlocked, or is he? It's not that big of a house. What are you doing for those hours?
It's not just that house. It's the other houses. It's the alley. It's where he should park. It's the advantage of how he's going to walk up. How about I would literally go and I would say, where is every camera? What houses have ring? What houses don't have ring? Where are those rings? I would be making schematics. I would be taking multiple pictures so I can't forget anything. I would be doing measurements. I would time myself how long it takes to approach a particular house. I would be covering the whole gamut, and that takes a couple hours.
That is some Ocean's 11 shit right there.
But okay, so he was there. How well do you think he did?
Well, he did pretty well, because the only camera footage of him is scant. It's in that alley, and you can't even really see him at all.
True.
And so he clearly knew how to enter and exit without being seen. I think that was really critical, and what he did well. It took 11 days to narrow it down to him. So he did some things right in terms of obscuring and getting in and getting out without being seen.
Flip the plates, pre-surveilled the house. In his mind, he thought he was checking all the boxes.
Yeah, he checked some, not well enough.
Yeah, just not well enough. Are you surprised? I mean, or is he kind of falling short here, where the average person who's not in law enforcement, not super divested into or invested into true crime, about as good as they would do, about as good as an amateur would do on something like this? Is that about what he did?
Yeah, an amateur. I mean, you'd compare it to Brian Koberger. Brian Koberger did an amazing job with what he had to work with, and especially his situation where that's a bloody scene where he's hands-on, strangling, beating, striking, knifing, it's amazing the job he did. But when you compare to that, I give Brian an A, but for that sheath, we probably wouldn't have a conviction right now. And I give McKee a C.
Well, Brian studied, this is not, McKee doesn't have that background. I don't know what he did in his spare time, I guess. So maybe I can't speak to that.
I don't know that we want to know what he did in his spare time.
I don't want to know.
But I am kind of curious. What he did for 8 years, other than I'm picturing, this is just pure conjecture, but I'm picturing like an altar or something in his house, with her picture on it and a lot of candles. I mean, that's probably crazy. That's what's going to end up in the Lifetime movie, now that I've thrown that into the ether.
I'm sure.
Completely from my mind. That's not likely what's there at all. But you never really know. Let's go back to that football game, that Big Ten game that Monique and her husband were at, and that she left at halftime. And friends are now saying that Spencer had communicated, it was something about her ex-husband. She was upset about something. Obviously, it's the same day that he showed up at the house that we've now learned. We don't know exactly what she knew, how she knew it, or what was going on. We don't have the answer to that portion. I'm going to guess it's probably something like we're suspecting here. You get that little chime and like, oh, there's a squirrel at my door. And then she sees her ex-husband.
Very big squirrel.
That might make you get a little bit upset. But we don't know what happened after that. And a lot of people are asking the question, why didn't she call law enforcement? Why didn't she make a report? We don't know that she didn't at this point in time. Let's speak to that a little bit, Jennifer. What do we not know about what happened after that moment in time, and what might have actually been done?
Well, when you look at this case, because of the years that it's coming out that apparently he was stalking her, he was calling her, he was harassing, her, you wonder, did she do any police reports? We haven't heard about any, but to your point, that doesn't mean they're not out there. If she didn't, though, I think it's just out of pure fear. In working with domestic violence issues, people, and also through law enforcement when I was doing it, I am telling you, they are terrified to upset the apple cart. Look, she had 2 little kids. And can you imagine some of the things he might have put in her head about what's going to happen if she said anything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think we're going to learn a lot of that.
I mean, isn't there? Oh, I'm sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
I think we're going to learn a lot about things in that realm as more digital stuff comes out. Go ahead, Stacey.
I'm curious about intimate partner homicide. There's typically a cooling off period, isn't there? And this is a huge cooling off period from when the relationship was terminated to the alleged murders. How does this case compare to other cases that you've seen in that regard?
Well, some people don't cool off, unfortunately, Stacey. And I brought this up, I think, last time we kind of chatted about this, and that's the Betty Broderick case.
Yeah.
For 4.5 years. That wasn't, they divorced and she did something. No. And I think we're going to hear a lot of the same thing. Telephone calls, hang-ups, threats. We'll see what she shared with everybody. It seems like she broad-stroked things from what we're hearing right now, but what are they going to be able to find on communications that they might have had, even if it's from a long time ago? I think this is the female or male version of a Betty Broderick. Years of hate.
I want to ask a question too, because it's a criticism that's being put out there, and I'm not trying to blame the victim here or anything, but had she gone to law enforcement, maybe she did. We don't know the answer to that question is the point. But if she did go to law enforcement, if someone who's in this situation, they're at a football game, they discover their ex of 8 years ago is meandering around their house or outside their house. They don't know why they're there. Let's say there's no other communication here. It's just, fairly 8 years of silence and then this. And if you were to go to police and you were to say, I got this, but the last communication was 8 years ago. And yeah, he did say some horrible, scary things to her, threats, during the marriage, allegedly, kill her at any time, always be my wife, that sort of stuff. But it was 8 years ago. It's probably rolling the dice, but you tell me, Jen, what kind of response are you going to get from law enforcement when you're saying, well, this is weird, I saw him outside my house on my Ring cam, if that's what happened, and he said these things to me all those years ago? Is it going to be taken with the same weight as if it was these threats were actively being made last week or a month ago or more recently than a decade ago?
Well, a couple of things. From my understanding, this is something that was continuing during that time frame. It didn't happen 8 years ago and then stop. It kept continuing. That at least is my understanding from what we're hearing. Witnesses and friends of her say. But I think what you're really getting at is, Jen, what could law enforcement and what would they have done? They would have taken a report. I truly believe that. That is if they went to the right house.
They screwed that up too. Yeah.
Jeez.
But, not being too tough on law enforcement, but I, just had to throw that out there. Anyway, I think that they would have taken a report, but this is the problem in these domestic violence cases. And we see it over and over again. If they want you, they are going to get you. They will find you and they will get you. And there's typically nothing law enforcement can do unless you hire somebody to sit outside of your house 24 hours a day. And there's nothing you can do. They are going to get you. I can't think of one case where law enforcement somehow diverted a crime like this, a domestic violence crime, other than when they came in on it maybe and got the person before they were completely beat to death. Yeah. If they're going to get you, they get you. And that is the horrible part of it. Listen, this victim did everything she could. Separated herself early after only 7 months of marriage. She got the divorce done within 2 years. She moved far away from him, separated completely from all accounts. She did everything.
Yeah, I mean, she really did. She checked all the boxes, and you're right. Law enforcement would have probably done the report, but it wouldn't have been this fantasy I think that people have in their head of like, see, they would have gone and arrested him then. No, they wouldn't have. This was a domestic divorce case from 8 years ago that's long filed away and done. That any of this, and in some of these things, these weren't even in the divorce documents. So like there wasn't even anything to go off of. This is all hearsay. This is all people after the fact stating that she said this stuff. So it's not like they can go back to the divorce docs ever and go, oh God, look, she made all these threats. None of this was documented at all. So you got that. So what would have happened? Maybe a document that was written up and then kept at the police station should they ever have to get a call again. But very likely McKee probably wouldn't have even been contacted. It would have just been, that's it, said and done. Is that, we all want to have this safeguard up, but it's not realistic. You're not hiring a 24/7 bodyguard when you report something like this. You're making a record, and that's very, very different. And I feel like some people think that it's going to be this 24/7 bodyguard, and they're really going to keep an eye out for you. They can't logistically. It's not that they don't want to, or like help and serve and protect the people around them. It's just not a realistic request with something like this. Otherwise, everybody would have it, and people can abuse this system the opposite way as well. Is there anything, I guess my question would be, in this process that has room for reform or change, or is this just literally the best that we can do? The system that we have of reporting these things, keeping records of it, because our police are not our personal bodyguards. Is it operating as optimally as it can, as basically on protecting civil liberties as we have it right now?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, in this case, remember there was a protective order, but it wasn't because anybody asked for it. That's the policy where that divorce was filed. So there wasn't a protective order against him 8 years later concerning this situation. But I do believe in protective orders, not because it's going to protect you, but because at least then if you have somebody on your curtilage, you can report to police, and then possibly they could at least take him in for trespassing or for violating that protective order. So once you have a protective order violation, then at least you have something more legally to go after somebody if things progress, right? And then if it happens 2 or 3 more times, then maybe they can actually get a more serious charge against them and maybe do some time, right? So it's more preemptive from a legal lens, but not from a protective lens. So Tony, back to your question, the only thing people can do if they truly believe their lives are in jeopardy or could be in jeopardy, unfortunately, is private security. That's it. It's so expensive. It's cost prohibitive. The police can't do anything. It's just these domestic situations are literally the worst.
I see it in our chat section and in our comment section on YouTube after the show. People are terrified of that prospect, that if I have terminated a relationship with somebody and they come after me, I have no recourse. There's nothing I can do, because if I report it, I'm going to enrage them, and then they're going to come after me anyway. And it's a terrifying prospect.
It is terrifying. And there are more safeguards. There's cameras, there's things that can alert you. There's more locks that can be on the door. Certainly combo locks are never a good answer. You have to have that chain lock. You have to have a deadbolt lock. I mean, there are other things that can be done. But Stacey, to your point, do you fear enraging that individual? I mean, I keep asking myself this question with the rage and hate that he had. How in the world did he not hurt those children? Yeah. And I always wondered if it was because she didn't push that button. In other words, that he had some sense of compassion, I guess, for the kids. But if she would have done these things we're talking about, filed police reports, had people go to his house, law enforcement go to his house, if she would have put gasoline on the fire that was already ablaze, what would have happened to those children? I don't know. I'm just saying there's no good answer for somebody suffering from something. is after them. There's no good answers.
I mean, or is that part of the cruelty and part of the maniacal, nature of this? Of I'm going to let them live, and I'm going to let them know that I killed their parents in the room next door, and then they get to sit with that their whole lives. Obviously, having a life is better than not, without a doubt, but there's a cruelness to that as well. Yeah, and this all happened to you when you were a kid. I mean, it all comes down to speed bumps, I think, at the end of the day. There's many parking lots out there that have really shitty speed bumps. And, those parking lots. And do you tend to go through the most speed bumpy area of those parking lots? No, a lot of times you're like, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go. But if those speed bumps weren't there, you would just go through one certain way. So more people need to view life and protection as speed bumps, not necessarily a vault door that's going to be there, because most of the time you can't afford the vault door, and there's no one that's going to just offer you the vault door for free, meaning 24/7 protection. But if you put like 42 speed bumps in front of you, people may choose not to travel down that road. You may get the one that's very damn determined, and look, you can have a nuclear arsenal pointing at them and they're still going to go straight towards it. Those are the folks you got to worry about. But if you can curtail some folks that may otherwise, this is easy enough to access, put those speed bumps up. And that's exactly what we were talking about. Cameras. I have gazillions of them at every which angle. So if you get on my property, you're going to be filmed every which way. No matter what, you're not going to get away with it. People will know who you are. It will happen. So if more people have things like that, and they're relatively affordable today, just the more speed bumps one can put into their life, the better off they're going to be. And it's a way to not have to live in fear or live in a world where, well, I wish we could have this. Well, you can't. You can't have 24/7 protection. But here's what you can have. So let's stop living in a hole and actually do things that are going to actually truly protect us and not put us at greater risk. I think that's a lesson that maybe learned in here. So many questions, though.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.